The rain hammered down on the cracked sidewalk of Maple Street the night 11-year-old Noor Abernathy gave away the only meal she had left in the world. She hadn't eaten since breakfast, and even that had been half a stale roll shared with her little brother, Cian, who was curled up asleep in the doorway of an abandoned laundromat, his thin jacket doing nothing against the cold. Their mother had died 8 months earlier, and their father, broken by grief and drink, had vanished into the city's shadows, leaving 2 children to fend for themselves. Noor had learned quickly that the world did not wait for the weak. She scavenged, she begged, she protected her brother with a fierceness that startled even the hardened shopkeepers who chased her from their doorsteps. That night, she had finally managed to get one warm meal, a small box of rice and chicken from a kind vendor who took pity on her hollow eyes. She clutched it to her chest like treasure, already imagining the way Cian's face would light up. But as she turned the corner, she saw him. An old man, hunched beneath a torn umbrella, sitting against the wall of a shuttered bakery, his hands trembling so badly he could barely hold them together in prayer. He was not asking for money. He was simply whispering, over and over, "Please, just enough strength to see morning." Noor stopped. She looked down at the box in her hands, then at her brother sleeping peacefully, then back at the old man whose lips had turned pale from cold and hunger. Something in her small chest ached in a way she didn't have words for. She thought about walking past him. Surely she deserved this one meal, surely no one would blame a starving child for keeping her own food. But her mother's voice echoed in her memory, soft and warm, "Even when you have nothing, Noor, you still have enough to give something." Before she could talk herself out of it, she knelt beside the old man and placed the box gently in his lap. "Here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You need this more than I do." The old man's eyes, clouded with age and exhaustion, widened in disbelief. He looked at the child before him, soaked, shivering, clearly starving herself, and tears welled up in his eyes. He tried to refuse, pushing the box back toward her, but Noor only shook her head and smiled, though her stomach twisted painfully with hunger. If you believe kindness like this still exists in the world, that even in our darkest moments, a second chance can be born from a single selfless act, smile and hit like, drop a comment below, share this story with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Hope and Wisdom for more stories that touch the soul. The old man ate slowly, savoring every bite as though it were the finest meal of his life, while Noor sat beside him, ignoring the gnawing emptiness in her belly. They didn't speak much, there was nothing that needed to be said. When he finished, he reached into his coat with shaking hands and pulled out a small, weathered photograph of a young woman. "My daughter," he said quietly. "I haven't seen her in 11 years. We fought over something foolish, and pride kept us apart ever since. I was on my way to find her tonight, to finally make things right, when my strength gave out." He looked at Noor with something like wonder. "You saved more than my body tonight, child. You reminded me why I still have somewhere to go." The next morning, sunlight broke through the gray clouds that had smothered the city for days, spilling gold across the wet pavement. Noor woke Cian gently, preparing to search for food once again, when she heard footsteps approaching. It was the old man, but he wasn't alone. Beside him stood a woman in her 30s, her eyes red from crying, and behind her, 2 police officers and a city social worker with a folder tucked under her arm. The old man, it turned out, was not just any stranger. He was Elias Whitfield, a retired physician who had once run a small community clinic before illness and heartbreak drove him into isolation. His daughter, Marissa, upon hearing what had happened, had rushed to find the child who had saved her father's life with nothing but a box of rice and an open heart. Elias insisted, with a firmness that left no room for argument, that Noor and Cian would not spend another night on the streets. Through his connections and Marissa's determination, temporary shelter was arranged within days, followed by a foster placement with a warm family who ran a small bakery, fittingly, near the very corner where Noor's kindness had changed everything. Elias visited often, teaching Noor about medicine and life, calling her the bravest person he had ever met. Cian, for the first time in months, laughed freely, his cheeks filling out with regular meals and safety he had almost forgotten was possible. Word of the little girl who gave away her last meal spread through the neighborhood, then the city, inspiring strangers to leave meals, blankets, and warm words for others in need. What began as one desperate act of selflessness rippled outward, touching dozens of lives who never even knew Noor's name but felt the warmth of what she had started. If this story moved something in you, if you believe that even the smallest act of kindness can change the course of someone's life, please take a moment to comment and let us know your thoughts. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that hope still lives in this world. And before we go, here's a special request: type kindness in the comments if you promise to carry a little more of it into someone else's day this week. Noor never forgot that rainy night, not because of what she lost, but because of everything she gained by giving. She often said that the moment she let go of her last meal was the moment she finally understood what it meant to be truly full.